All right. And we are recording.
Yay!
Yay! Oh, technical problems. I love you. I'm Dan Crosier, your host for COFOH Live Undead. And I am here with, oh no, she freeze framed. I'm here with Deanna Destito, one of the main writer and editor of the Dark Region horror anthology. And unfortunately, Rus Wooton, who's a phenomenal comic book talent and letterer in the comic book industry, he's on, he's trying to wrap up some different projects. So he's on deadline right now, and he can't join us. But Deanna was able to join us all the way from New Jersey. How you doing, Deanna?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm upright, so that's half the battle.
That's always good.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah, how's New Jersey? I can't talk. Yeah, how's New Jersey?
It's all right. It's Jersey.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are surviving during the pandemic.
The pandemic, yes, the COVID-19. We're doing all right. I mean, it's weird. I actually had to leave my house for a few minutes for essential travel today, and it was weird. I felt like Gollum leaving the cave. It was a little weird.
You didn't have to go out and get the one ring, was it? Uh-oh, she froze up. Oh no. Entertain. Oh, there's the audio. She's coming back.
Oh, am I back? There we go.
You are back.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
All right. You back? I think I'm back.
Okay. You're back on my end. So
okay.
This will be fun. We'll be doing this for about an hour.
Great.
Yeah, I know. So Deanna, give us a little background. Tell us about yourself. Who you are. And where you come from. What parts unknown?
The parts of New Jersey. My primary function is writer, editor. I've been writing and editing for, I don't want to say 20 years. Too old. I don't want to say how old I am. But I actually met Rus, and this was my into the world of comics. I've always read comics, even as a kid, but working in comics. Did I lose you again? Am I freeze framing?
I'm back. Yeah, you were doing the same thing. It got you like a mid eye blink. So you.
Oh, good. That's always attractive. So I, as a comic book reader from a kid, I actually interned at Wizard. Remember Wizard, the guide to comics?
I used to read that when I was in high school and art school.
So in college I interned there, and that's actually where I met Rus. He was working there, and I was the college intern. And we kept in touch over there, but that was my first intro into the world of working in comics, going to conventions and dealing with writers and artists and editors and things like that. And then once my internship was over and I was forced to be an adult and actually work and make money, I did different types of editorial and writing jobs, kind of all over the place, different genres, different platforms. Back in my day, it was actual magazines. We had to actually make a physical book.
Nice.
It's not so digital the way it is now. But I did a lot of the comic stuff was kind of my side gig. I would do a lot of freelancing for different comic book companies, editing and writing, primarily editing. And then the writing was always, you don't make money writing the fun stuff until later.
Yeah.
You have to write the boring stuff first, You
gotta pay your dues.
You have to, yeah. So, but then, Russ and I we were chatting one day, and we were he was lamenting that he wasn't, doing a lot of his own stuff. And I was saying, I'm editing these books and I'm writing these articles, and I'm not writing my stuff. Like, I read stuff and I know that I can get out there. So that's kind of where the our anthology came about. That's because we both are huge horror fans.
Yeah.
So being big horror fans, and that's where the Dark Reaches kind of came about. Because I like the whole vignette anthology thing, whether it's a TV show or a book, or very Twilight Zone,
Yeah.
Dark Mirror, that kind of stuff, Creep Show, all those, Tales from the Crypt, everything's like these short little stories. And even my fiction stuff that I write, the non-comic book stuff, I tend to write short stories. I've always liked that short form.
Mm-hmm.
And Russ and I, we always talked about horror movies and horror films and horror books. And so we kind of put it all together, and we're like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just make our own book.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. So was the Dark Reaches, was that your first collaboration? Oh, did I freeze up?
No, there you go. You're back. That was the first. That was the first one that we actually worked together on, where we kind of tossed around ideas and we actually worked together. Because even at Wizard, I wasn't really in the same. He did a lot of stuff for the web, the website and things like that, and I was in editorial, so we didn't really work a lot together. Most of our conversations were at the printer because he sat next to the printer, so it was just kind of like printer conversation. And whenever it jammed, I'd go, "Hey, you know how to fix this?" But
yeah. Nice. So he would help you with the printer, huh?
Right. There we go.
That's cool. Yeah. So Dark Reaches. That came. God, because I participated in that. I think I did like a short story of one of your short stories. I think is what I did for the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the cover art, that was really fun because I could have, I think you had like some kind of a vampiric essay. It was almost like poetry, I think. And
I had the 4 pages of vampire. It was the vampire's perspective. That's the one that.
Yeah, I was able to become very esoteric, I think, with the artwork, which was a nice departure.
Yeah.
So that was pretty fun. But God, what year was that? 2015?
It was 15, yeah, because I wasn't. I go by the publication date by when I've been pregnant, because both books I've been pregnant.
Oh my gosh! How many kids do you have now?
It's very strange.
Uh-oh, you froze up. Just a second.
What's that?
Oh, you froze up. How many kids?
I lost you there for a sec. I have 2, so we have 2 volumes and 2 kids.
Oh, okay, nice.
So let's see, Russ and I did Long Beach Comic-Con in 2015. It was in September of 2015. And then that's when we went to Long Beach and we were promoting it. We had posters, we had an ash can with a couple of stories that we were giving out, trying to promote the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter was that fall of 2015.
Nice. Yeah, I think I remember that. Was that?
And then.
So you're Long Island, was it Long Beach? I'm sorry, you froze up again. Hold on, we're having technical difficulties.
There we go. I think I'm back.
Deanna, are you there?
I'm there. We lost the feed.
Bear with us. She's in a hurricane.
I think we're back.
Deanna, do you still see the monsters? Are they attacking? Sorry.
What's that?
I'm just being weird at this point. Yeah. So that you said that was Long Beach?
Yeah, we did Long Beach Comic-Con in 2015. We promoted it because the Kickstarter launched that, I want to say November or October, November. Cool. And then we started, and I was pregnant by the end of 2015 because I had my son in 2016 and I was fulfilling orders like 100 months pregnant. So I was shipping boxes, and I'm getting pallets of books, and I'm like 9 months pregnant. You know?
Oh no, you shouldn't be doing that. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it was pretty bad. Yeah.
Did the husband help?
He did, but he wasn't home when the books arrived, and the delivery guy wanted to leave the pallet in my driveway. I'm like, no, what if it rains? You can't do that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did
It was
the delivery guy
yeah.
help you
So
bring it down and carry it?
he brought him in. Yeah.
Okay, good.
He did. He was like, I can only leave them. I can't bring them in. And I go, you have to bring them in. I'm about to birth. You have to bring them in.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I've got two sisters, you know, and I've got, you know, what is it, 3 nephews and 2 nieces between the two of them. So yeah, I've seen it. It's tough. It's excruciating. I feel so bad. Oh, jeez. Yeah, well, at least the guy helped you. Oh, did I freeze up again?
So both of my pregnancies in the summer. Oh, there you go. You're back.
Okay.
Yeah. Both of my kids, I was very pregnant in the summertime. So it's like 100 million degrees out, and your body temperature's all messed up as it is.
Oh, yeah.
So like I'm sitting there sweating, pallets of books coming in my house. But then the second volume, it's funny because we started the second volume, and then I was pregnant. I just had my daughter 6 months ago. So it's like every time I'm pregnant, we do a book.
Oh, jeez.
So that's how I remember when these come
Yeah.
out.
Well, here's to the 3rd volume and the 3rd kid.
The shop's got to close at some point, though.
I wasn't going to say anything. That's between you guys.
10 volumes. I'm not having 10 kids.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
But yeah, so that's when, you know, hopefully we get this one out sometime this year. And it's kind of a big gap between the two, because like the first one, I guess, was officially published in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it came out. So hopefully we were trying to get out a little bit earlier, but you know, sometimes when these projects, these passion projects, they sometimes get pushed because everybody's doing their day job and everybody's got a million things going on. So we'll do our best to get this one out.
Right. No, I totally.
And then a pandemic, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Pandemics are good for getting that passion project finished finally.
Right. Finally, except we.
Yeah. Oh, you froze up. So you know, juggle. So with that first book, like obviously, you know, like Rus is pretty well embedded in the comic book community, and you know, you've got your connections. Was it hard collaborating and getting, you know, artists and writers to participate?
For the first volume, because this was kind of Rus's, he did a lot of the connecting in the first one. I knew a couple of people involved, but it was mostly people that he knew, and he reached out to people that he knew liked horror, that people who wanted to do something that wasn't connected to work. So like, you know, some of the guys that he worked with, they were primarily letterers, but they wanted to try to write. You know what I mean? Like they wanted to kind of go beyond what they normally do. So like he reached out to a couple of guys that he was pretty close with, and he was like, oh, you know, if you ever want to write a story, you know, here's your shot, you know, because sometimes, you know, especially in comics, if you're known as something, sometimes it's hard to get out of, you know, if you're known as a letterer, people might not necessarily ask you to write a book, you know?
Right.
So a couple of these guys, they were stretching their creativity. They wanted to, you know, do a little bit of everything. Some people tried to write and draw and it was mostly people that Rus either knew or had worked with before. And then we all kind of connected from there. And I had a, yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see, that people, like you mentioned, are known for for one thing and stuff, and really don't have the opportunity or take the opportunity to really stretch those creative muscles. But you look at so many people in that industry that in fact they're artists all of their own right. They write, they draw, they're illustrators. The bread and butter might be I'm a colorist or I'm an inker or something like that, or I'm on the digital end, I'm a flatter, formatting, graphic design. But yeah, it's interesting to see how people that take that as their day job, but these little opportunities,
Mhm.
and they can really hopefully flourish and hone those muscles.
Yeah, definitely. And it was nice to see some of these guys who felt like they finally had a chance to tell a story where they couldn't before.
Yeah,
Some of the stories were personal. Some of the people in the first volume, they were, they made them spooky and they made them horror, but they came from someplace. You know what I mean? And it was something they wanted to share. And maybe in their day job, they don't get that opportunity. When they're working for a company and they're primarily known for something specific, they might not be able to use a job to do it. So this was a nice way for people to kind of flex their creativity and kind of show off, other talents, I guess. But it was, it was trial and error too. Like, it was a lot of people that Rus had either known or worked with. We kind of put the feelers out and said, hey, we're trying this anthology out where it's horror based, any kind of horror, any kind of story, max 8 pages. Some people didn't stick to the 8 pages. But we had a couple of those. But he said, just send in your stories. And we kind of was more a little bit looser as far as that goes. And then with this volume, because the first one, we learned a lot on the first one. And we also, the first one was fairly successful. The Kickstarter was successful. And, even after the Kickstarter, it did get a lot of, people were buying it. We were getting orders for it. People were talking about it, like local comic shops.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of signings with some of the guys that were
nice.
Which was cool, so it did get a little traction. So we're like, okay, well, I guess we'll do another volume. And this time we opened it up more. So not where the first volume was kind of somebody always knew somebody.
Mm-hmm.
This one is a little bit broader. We don't necessarily know everybody. We actually took from people that we put everybody kind of blasted, hey, we're looking for this, if you're interested, submit, and we took submissions, and that's how this one came about.
Nice.
And there's people that we...
Oh, you froze up there. I think I submitted or suggested some talent as well for volume 2. Like writer Shane Reuschlein and I think J. James McFarlane. I can't remember. I think I recommended Gerard Kaihue. I don't know if he's actually in the book, but yeah, there's quite a lot of talent. Tell us a little bit. Was there a theme for the second one? Because I think the first one was I don't know if there was a general theme other than horror, but I think you were trying to avoid zombie stories. Right? Or am I wrong?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No, the theme, because Rus works on The Walking Dead, is always no zombies.
Yeah.
That was always the theme. No zombies.
No zombies.
Because he worked on the letterer. He's the letterer for the Walking Dead comic for a billion years. So,
right.
that was although like one of my stories in this one is like zombie light. it's not really a zombie. It's more of like an undead, but not like a zombie undead. It's more like I don't want to give the story away, but you know, a back from the dead situation, but not necessarily a shambling zombie.
Yeah.
But yeah, we actually got a couple of submissions where people were giving zombie stories, and he's going, nope, no zombies, no walking dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really wasn't. Yeah,
What's that?
I guess when you're looking at, you know, zombies for when you're looking at zombies for however many, you know, years you want to break, right?
Right. Oh, I would think
Yeah.
so. You know,
Yeah.
the TV show kind of made me zombie out. Right? The only thing I can take is the films, you know,
Yeah.
and maybe Z Nation on Sci-Fi Channel just because it's so campy.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's
As far as the theme goes, we didn't really have much of a theme. Like it just kind of whatever story you wanted to submit. We tried to make, but when we picked stories, we wanted to make sure that they were diverse, that we had a bit of a mix. Because the first volume, we had a mix of stories, but there were a couple of stories that were kind of in the same vein. Like there were, for some reason, demons was very popular in the first volume. Everyone had a demon story. It was very strange. So we were trying to say, okay, let's see if we can get a different types of horror for this one, like not so similar as far as that. So you know, ghost stories and you know, slasher, like we kind of wanted to mix the types of horror verse, as you know, the first one was a little bit more, because the first one was so loose. It's like, hey, Brand, do you have a story? We did get some stories that were a little similar. Like I said, a lot of demons for some reason. Everyone's on a demon kick on the first one, but this one there is definitely a more. It's very broad. There's a lot of different story, and I like it. I think I'm very excited about this one because there are a lot of different types of stories, and there's so many horror genres. There's spooky ghost stories. There's the demon, the exorcism kind of stuff. Then there's slasher, murderer horror. Like, do you know what I mean? There's so many different
family uplifting stuff. I get it.
Very, very positive and you know, bubbly. But so this book has a lot of different. It touches in a lot of the different types of horror, so it's a little bit more diverse, and I think that's why I like it. And there are more stories, and there's more types of creators. Even the styles are different. The storytelling styles are very diverse, and the art is very old. It's very different. So it looks even more. I keep saying diverse over and over again. I don't know how, but it's definitely, there's a lot of different backgrounds and different styles that are mixing in, which is nice.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, I always think of an anthology should, you know, feel pretty eclectic. You know, lots of different perspectives that are conveyed in the writing and storytelling approach. And you know, and horror is one of those incredibly, you know, flexible genres. You know, you can insert all kinds of different modes, tropes, and stuff, and you know, make it very dramatic, very suspenseful, a lot of comedy. You know, just as long as you don't go snuff film with stuff. You know, that's never pleasant. But I guess torture porn might be the closest thing to that. But
we didn't do any of that.
What's that?
No torture porn. No, we didn't do that.
Yeah. I'm not really too big of a fan of that, but unless it's Japanese, that's usually or South Korea, then it's usually a little bit more interesting. But yeah, it's yeah. There's so much that you can do within that. You know, I think over the weekend, like my girlfriend and I, Elise, we were watching all the Hannibal movies. So Red Dragon, you know, not in order of release, obviously.
Right.
But how the stories are supposed to take place, you know, Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs, and Hannibal. And I mean, they're all, I consider them horror, but they're amazing dramatic pieces too. Very, you know, especially Silence of the Lambs, very suspenseful. Red Dragon, probably the weakest link out of the three. I mean, it's Brett Ratner. He's
Yeah.
for car commercials. Sorry.
Yeah.
but anyway, but yeah, it's you look at stuff like that, and then like Shaun of the Dead, which is a comedy, but holy crap, that's like the benchmark for horror zombie films too.
Right. Right.
So it's interesting to to see where you can go with that, and then see if you can push it well beyond. Comic books are such a great platform for that type of storytelling too. Especially obviously it's sequential art, so it's lends itself very well to storyboards. Which obviously informs film. Um, and I'd say if you do a really good, uh, horror comic book, you could probably have a really kick-ass film. Because doing horror in comics is very difficult. It's hard to get that sense of suspense.
Yeah.
It's. I'm trying to think of like how I convey things, visually. It's tough, but.
It is.
Yeah, you kind of have to. For me, I would think playing out with beats and for volume two, I end up God, I bit off more than I could chew for you guys, and I feel so bad because I thought I was holding up the project every time.
No, you weren't.
But I think I did like illustrated three stories, one of yours, which was the 12-page story, right?
I think you did.
And then one with Shane Reuschlein, and then another writer, Gina, I think. And there's three completely different styles, completely different pacing and everything. And but yeah, that was a fun challenge. I'm glad I got through it, and I never want to do that again.
It's tough. It is, and I tell you, it is tough because when you're watching a movie, and you can, when you're filming the movie, you can keep the scare hidden until you want it to be there. When you're looking at a comic page, it's all laid out in front of you.
Right.
So to hide the scare, you have to like kind of plan your pages. You don't want somebody to be on this panel and then the scare is here and it ruins the scare. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you have to kind of think about, and the tricky part with short comics, when you only have a certain amount of pages, 8, 10 pages, 12 pages, whatever it is, even if it's 12 pages, it's still short compared to, say, a graphic novel or even a full comic book, 22 pages. But you have to really plan where, and you only story and be scary, and it could be tricky. It's the pacing. Those beats is very important.
Pacing and beats, and not giving away things, especially when you got those first two pages open, because I've seen it where like you got a gorgeous comic book, it's a single issue or something, but there's ads, so those ads can also offset your pacing because they have to push that page off, or however they've got it laid out. So sometimes whoever's formatting kind of misses that, and then there goes the story, there goes the giveaway. It's like it should be a page turn. It's like, oh well, there it is. Right next to the the ad for OxyClean.
And that's when I write my scripts too. I'm a writer, and I can see things in my head, and I can I've watched enough types of horror movies to have an idea, but I'm not visual in the way that an artist is visual. Do you know what I mean? My perspective, the way that I'm telling the story, comes from a different place than somebody who's a visual artist.
Mhm.
So I'm very open to what the art, and from working with me, I'll give you the script and go, whatever you think works, because I know that sometimes in my brain it might look right, but when you lay it out on the pages, it doesn't always flow properly. Something doesn't seem to, it needs to be adjusted or whatever. So I don't mind letting the artist kind of run with that, so that between the two of us, the pacing is correct. The beats are there, the scares are not given away too early. It's gotta be collaborative. You know what I mean? I think, at least for comic books.
Very much so.
Sure, it has to be collaborative, especially for horror. You don't want you.
Yeah. I think for horror, it definitely needs to be collaborative, and then with it being a comic book too, why shouldn't it be? I mean, it's such an intimate project, whereas you don't need a massive team to work on, like you would a stage production or a movie. If you don't have a certain skill set, then yeah, you got to kind of network and work with people and collaborate in that way.
Right.
But if you're writing a novel, I mean, it can pretty much be you and your editor. So, so that's even more intimate.
Yeah.
Probably a lot louder in the yelling matches, I suppose.
Yeah. But but I've worked with people where they are very much, this is how I want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to, go too far. They're not open to that criticism.
Okay.
And then it limits your story. And especially in the comic medium, it's visual and there's words, and they both have to work together. And that's why there's always that the writer, the artist, they're both just as important. Like, you can't, even if there's no dialogue, there has to be somebody to set the pace of the story. There has to be a writer who's right. So without that, I don't have to do any dialogue, but I have to still tell you a story.
Yeah.
And so you as an artist, not you personally, but I mean, as an artist, not every artist, some artists.
Sorry, you froze up on this one.
I can't draw at all to save my life. My son asks me to draw stuff, but it's ridiculous.
Sometimes those are the best.
But and he'll ask me for elaborate things, like, can you draw me, Lightning McQueen? And I'm going, oh my gosh, I can't draw anything. I can't draw anything at all.
Yeah.
He was into the picture stuff for a while, and I'm like, I can't draw that. I can't draw anything. But like, however much, actually, especially with horror, sometimes you don't need a lot of dialogue. Sometimes it's all visual, but there still has to be somebody telling that story, even if it's all visual. That's why I think it has to be collaborative.
Yeah. Hey, Deanna, what, as far as like horror movies, books, novels, what's your favorite? What do you gravitate towards?
I tend to like the spooky stuff. I like the creepy, ghost, supernaturally kind of stuff.
Okay.
I'll watch like a Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street kind of movie. Like, I'm okay with that, especially the older ones. The older good ones, like the old Halloween. Those are good. Yeah. But I don't really gravitate toward those. I like the creepy stuff. I like the grainy ghost story, the one where, like, is there a face back there? Like, that kind of story. You know what I mean? Like the ones where you're watching the actors talk and you're like, ooh, there's something over there. Like, I like those. Nice. And I can get into I also like the religious, like demon, hell and heaven, kind of stuff too. I can get in.
Kind of like Exorcist and Stigmata, that sort of stuff.
I don't really go toward the torture porn.
Right. No, I don't recommend it. It is not for everyone.
There we go. There you're back. I lost you there for a second.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah,
Am I back again? Okay. Oh,
But yeah.
we're getting a little crunchy, huh? Uh-oh.
There we go.
Wow.
I think we're back.
Okay. Oh, no.
This internet is killing me tonight.
Yeah. Are the bars just going away on your end, or?
Every once in a while, it just like I'll have full bars, and then it goes just craps out on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Right now, I'm okay.
I'm pulling out of full screen so I can actually watch and see if anything happens. But I'm at full bars too, so who knows?
But anyway, yeah. But that's why a lot of my stories, if you see it, the ones that I've written for both anthologies and even other stuff that I've written,
Yeah.
I favor more ghost stories. I favor more a lot of stuff in the first volume. One of my stories, especially urban legend feel to them. You know, like kind of like an urban legend kind of feel.
Well, definitely that the vampire ditty that we worked on together in the first one definitely feels like that. Feels very urban legends, but in an essay poetic kind of sense. I could almost see that as like expanding that out into like some. I'm sure there's a story after that, or even building up before that, somewhere. I could see that being expanded in some capacity, maybe in that format. Uh-oh. I bet you I froze on her end too. Oh, there you are.
There you are.
Okay. Oh man. We're pretty soon we're just gonna be playing hide and go seek.
And I can't even imagine like the look. You're probably catching me like mid blink, and it's just like the worst facial.
As my face is, I'm sure you're getting some really weird stuff. When we're done, make sure to take some screen grabs of my freeze frame and just like send them. I'll post them because I think to make fun and self deprivation is
exactly
wonderful. It's a wonderful tool. Oh man. But so are you working on any individual projects for yourself right now, aside from Dark Reaches?
It's funny. I've basically become the anthology girl. Everything currently that I'm working on is in an anthology. So I have the Dark Reaches, the second volume coming out. I was just in another, and this one actually wasn't horror. It was another smaller book. Again, it was a 4-page. I entered a 4-page comic book. It was called Elegy. It was for Plot Twist Publishers, and it was basically the concept of the book was you were supposed to write a story that was based on, it was about somebody who died, or somebody that you knew that passed away, and that was the theme of the book. So everybody who entered wrote a story about somebody that they know who died. So it really wasn't horror, but it was it wasn't like butterflies and rainbows either. So so that one just came out.
Yeah.
And then good. We were gonna say I think I lost you again. Oh, there you are. So
Nope. Did I freeze again? Oh, Deanna. Oh, I'm gonna jump down here. That way we pop up.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I figured I'd jump down off screen. So anyway, so you were working on another graphic or another anthology after the personal one of the people that you know.
Right, that one, the personal. And then I'm involved in another anthology. This was actually zombies. It's based on George Romero.
Oh, George Romero.
What's that?
George Romero's what?
It's a tribute anthology to his work.
So, that's cool.
I think we talked about
Yeah,
Yeah.
just not available for that one. Man, that would have
Yeah.
been cool. That would have been a lot of fun. I
Yes.
do dead things pretty well, I think.
Yeah. So that one's all zombies.
Yeah. Don't tell Russ.
uh, yeah, no. And actually, another one that I just started working on, it's another anthology. This one is all vampires. So I have all zombies and all vampires.
Nice. Well, you got to have a good balanced meal.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So basically everything that I've been working on is some sort of anthology this year, all anthologies and different types of horror. So
That's cool.
those are the projects that I'm in the middle of right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds fantastic. The going back to the one where you had to write about somebody you knew who passed away, like, I mean, that sparks a lot of questions. It's like, was this a family member or a friend?
I actually took a very different perspective. I actually wrote about a miscarriage that I had.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was because I wanted to submit to it. It was an open call for writers, and I was like, I could write about this and that. I'm like, I kind of want to do something a little bit different because not that deaths that of people that I know didn't affect me, but that one, obviously miscarriage is huge,
Mm-hmm.
and it was fairly recent when I had submitted for the first time. It was I guess about a year after, and so I said to the editor, I go, I don't know if this counts, but here's my story. So so I kind of took a different perspective than somebody like a family member or a friend. So I wrote about the miscarriage. That was my death.
My gosh.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine that. That's pretty courageous, I would think. To
It's probably the most personal thing I've ever written up until now. I've always based stuff on people and situations, but that particular story was only 4 pages. That particular story was obviously the most personal that I've ever.
What obviously aside from uh the theme of the anthology, you know, what made you want to, share this story?
It's interesting because when I actually had the miscarriage, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't just I kept it between my husband and me. I didn't want I a lot of people, they want people to be around them and to rally around them, and I wanted the opposite. I didn't want 15 texts every day asking how I was. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, I needed to be distant. I needed to have my space from it. It was very traumatic. It was a very traumatic. I mean, it was very early on in the pregnancy, and it was actually one of the more common reasons why a miscarriage occurs.
Okay.
Doesn't make it any less, traumatic.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
felt like when this actually happened, I felt like it when I had never told anybody about it. Like I said, I kept it between my husband, and we kept it very private. I didn't want anybody to know about it. I didn't even tell my family. Like, I just kept it very, very low key. But then when this project came up, I felt like it was a year after it happened. I felt like it was time for me to this was how I can deal. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to have 100 phone calls. This is how I'm going to tell this story. This is how I'm going to deal with it. So I instead of getting on the phone with everybody, I put it into a comic and just released it that way. That was how I dealt with it. Yeah.
That's amazing. My hat's off to you for, your willingness to, to share that story, because it's so personal. I couldn't imagine, what what you had to go through, and then also go through it again, just writing it out.
Yeah, it was tough. It was very difficult. And like I said, for me, something like that, I know I have friends who've also gone through a miscarriage or two, and they need to be on the phone with their mother crying. I'm not that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't necessarily need to have everybody here and in my face. So a lot of, even, just in general, when I'm dealing with something, I don't necessarily put it on people. I write about it.
Yeah.
That's how I filter it out and I get rid of it.
Yeah.
So so it was time for me to get rid of that, to finally let that out. And that's why, and it just seemed like it was a good opportunity. Only 4 pages. I can say it, get it out, deal with it, and now it's out, So that was my approach for that story. It was very cathartic,
Yeah. Oh, I bet. I'm looking forward to reading that from you.
Oh.
And anybody that can jot down some of the traumas that they've gone through and be able to share that and willing to. I think that's absolutely wonderful, and stuff like that I think we as a society need to digest a little bit more in order to better relate to each other, especially during times like this where some of us are stuck inside and aren't able to go to work, and we're some people are financially the worst off for it, and then we're overwhelming our healthcare system too. So how are you and the family coping?
We're okay. I mean, we're I live about an hour from my family, because my sister and my parents live about an hour north of me, so I haven't seen them in over a month, which is weird because we're a big Italian family. We're up each other's ass all the time, so every Sunday, big pasta dinner. But I haven't seen them, and it's in my father is 73.
Ooh,
and he and my sister, they actually live up the road from my sister, so they're close by to each other. My sister almost had to physically restrain my father from not leaving the house, like telling him, you can't go out, you are high risk. He didn't want to hear that he couldn't go do his thing. He wanted to go food shopping. He didn't like the fact that he was going to be stuck in the house, So my sister's like, no, you are senior citizen.
Yeah, you're potentially susceptible.
Like
that. My parents.
Right, and my father's diabetic too, so he was checking all the boxes.
Oh, jeez, yeah, that's tough. Yeah, he's it's it is better for him to stay home. I would agree. My parents are in their late 60s, and luckily I don't have to restrain them. They're like, yeah, we're fine. They're out on the ranch. We're good. We got our cows. We'll just hang out here. So I don't think they've really left in a month and a half. They'll go in to go get provisions,
Right.
and they're like fully masked and gloved, and they look like they're ready to rob the place. And but they seem to be doing okay. I think and then every week we do like these type of video conferences and stuff, and we see how the cabal is doing.
We do this. My mom has an eye, so we do FaceTime. I think we FaceTime them, and it's funny because we FaceTime my parents and we'll FaceTime my mother-in-law. And anybody over the age of 65, when you FaceTime them, you only see from like here up.
Right. Yeah, my mom will do that, and it's like, oh, what happened to your forehead? She's like, what are you talking about?
Exactly.
She doesn't actually talk like that, but
I know. It's funny because my son is 3.5, and he'll look at them and go, I only see your head,
Yeah.
Because they don't put their whole
see these eyes.
Frame.
Yeah, that's creepy.
It's kind of funny. But
what happened to your bottom half? I can't tell you. I should.
Yeah, it's like always like this.
No, my nieces and nephews would definitely point that out. It's like your head's not in frame. Get in frame. Come on. You've seen a lot of movies. That's not how you frame.
But my dad now, he understands. But I would say the first week or so, like, because he's Mr. Mayor, he likes to go around. He likes to chat with people. He loves the supermarket, and to tell him to stay home, forget about it. He was a mess.
Right. Well,
Down here, okay. Like I don't go to my husband does the food shopping. I don't deal with any of that. I'm not going in there. I'm not dealing with people.
it's safer.
It is.
My day job, I'm still essential personnel. I
Okay.
manage a property that's all media, so I've got a TV station that I take care of, and it's pretty interesting. We can to watch. They can operate like a whole TV station with 3 or 4 people. Who knew? Everybody else is working remotely at home, even the IT department. so,
Yeah.
so that's been interesting, but it's not terrible. My office is clear on one corner of the property, way from everybody else. So if I don't need to, I don't need to see one soul, any given day. So, but I'm there if something breaks down. So I can duct tape it.
This is crazy. Like it's and the fact that you can't even just go to the store and get what you need. You never would think that we would ever, like I would never think that I can't find toilet paper and that I can't find, certain. It's crazy. We've never experienced something like this before, and I think a lot of people are freaking out about it.
Well, and hopefully it'll cause some reflection on how we need to change things kind of moving forward. So,
absolutely.
Because this is not sustainable.
No.
We have other countries that are doing a way better job.
Yeah, we're a bit of a disaster right now.
Yes, we're that redheaded stepchild that keeps falling in the mud pit. And there's not one around. Yeah, but at the same time, times like these also kind of give birth to great innovations and a lot of creativity. So I'd imagine you're probably writing a lot. I know the day job's also writing and editing.
Yeah. I'm still doing the day job and still got the kids, but I try to, there is a little bit more time because we don't go anywhere now on the weekends. So some house projects done, get stuff around the house done, trying to get some personal stuff done. There is a little bit more time, especially usually we would travel, but we're home, so hopefully some projects that were on the back burner I'm working on.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Elise and I are finishing up a children's comic book, so
nice.
So that's been a lot of fun. It's been a really nice change of pace, and like I said, my nieces and nephews they can actually read something that I've created.
Yeah.
No, you can't read that. Dan made that. Oh.
I have that problem too. But my nieces are older now, so it's okay. But when they were little, like I couldn't really show them anything because everything that I did was kind of scary.
Nice. Yeah.
So now I can.
Of course, if you did, that might make them more interesting people now.
Right? Exactly. See? It's funny. I've tabled at a couple of shows, and you don't know always the crowd that you're going to get. Sometimes it's depending on who comes into these shows. And there was one show where it was I had all my horror books lined up and all my my spooky stuff, and like it's all little kids.
Oh. Yeah,
Nobody wanted that. Yeah, I think you froze.
Oh, did I freeze again? Oh, you're still frozen too. Do you have my audio? It looks like you're holding your forehead.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Let's see. There we go. There we go. Are we back? I think we're back.
I think we're back. All right. We just got to let the satellites get into position.
This is ridiculous.
Okay.
But like I've gone to shows and like I don't have that younger crowd. I don't have anything for the little guys,
Yeah.
So
yeah, that can be.
I did
tough.
I did a show of one of the libraries at a small little thing, Yeah, and then I don't have anything for kids. All my stuff is mature reader, but I should probably do a children's something just so I have a diverse table.
I definitely recommend that. That's what Elise has been focusing on is doing like all ages horror comedy books. So they've been pretty fun, and yeah, it's great. Like we even have little cute little animatronics at our table, and so the kids come and they're like looking at like these little man-eating cupcakes that are automated and stuff, and you better believe they're gonna buy mom and dad's buying a comic for them after that. Otherwise, they're not leaving the table.
Yeah.
But on my side, with all the R-rated stuff, keep walking, kids.
Yeah, you can't look at this.
Yeah. We did do a show in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, of all places, and yeah, it was pretty interesting. I had my horror books out, and I'm used to people just like, it's like that's fine, but poor Elise ran into that even with her children's book, and it's like, there's supernatural stuff in there. It's like, come on. It's like,
Yeah.
Like, really? But anyway, that's the Midwest.
Yeah. You don't really see too much of that in New Jersey. That I've never really run into.
Okay.
It's always the one where it was at the library. It was even the teacher. She came over to me and she goes, "Oh, do you have anything for I teach 6th grade? Do you have anything for like all ages?" And I'm going, "Not really. This is kind of adult." She goes, "Okay." She goes, "Are these bookmarks? I'll just take some bookmarks then."
Yeah.
The free bookmarks because I had nothing really
for them. Yeah. Libraries are, they're always looking for content. I mean, sometimes they're the biggest distributors and buyers of comic books these days.
Yeah.
So especially when it comes to all ages and children's, comics. So yeah, I definitely recommend that. Especially now that you got 2 little kids, for each anthology. Now you got to produce some children's anthologies to kind of catch up with them.
I should. My son is very into superheroes. My son he's all about the Avengers right now. It's all Avengers everything. So
yeah. No, my nephews are too. My niece is too. She loves Captain Marvel, Supergirl, and Wonder Woman. So and Batgirl. Batgirl balances things out. But yeah, and then what's her name from Frozen? I don't know. I can't remember what. Elsa, I think, is that character's name. So she sings the songs. Now, it looks like we froze up again. So hopefully I was doing something stupid.
I think
your voice is getting all metallic.
Sucks tonight.
I know this will be fun. We'll definitely have to do this again at some point when we're on to volume 3 or 4 in 2 years. You only have 2 years.
Okay.
We're also going to have you and Rus because I mean I've yet to meet you in person, and I've met Rus at least I think twice in person. So definitely miss him. Yeah, he's I've always the way I describe him, because I think out here like Charlie LaGreca, who's the founder of Denver Comic Con, he's friends with Rus, and then but every time I describe him, I mean, the guy's a superhero.
Yeah.
He's had a difficult life, and the output that he does, all the lettering of however many books he puts out now, and then the illustration and the writing stuff. I mean, it's tremendous. So definitely want him to be able to tell his story too.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
Because I think it'll help a lot of people out. But yeah. So we're just about ready to wrap up. Deanna, where can people go to purchase volume 1 of The Dark Reaches? Oh, we're a little. Oh, we froze again. How does that song go? If my niece was here, she would tell us. Okay, so Deanna, where can people go to purchase volume 1 of The Dark Reaches?
So you can actually go to my website, which is deannadestito.com. And if you go, I have a little store there, and there's a little drop down with this. Right now, there's 3 books. Actually, the first volume of The Dark Reaches is there, and I could fulfill the orders right there. I'm not pregnant, so it's not too bad. So it'll be easy to fulfill. And then I also have on my site, there's another. This was something that I did a few years ago. It's actually another anthology, but this one isn't horror. It was a tribute to David Bowie when it was right after he passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and every story in it was based on one of his songs. So,
oh,
yeah, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, so I have that on there, and actually the one where I wrote about the miscarriage, that's also available on my site.
Oh, no kidding. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I know where I'm going after this.
Yeah. So if you go there to at my website, you can go there, and also, I'm trying to think, if you contact us through the socials, through Twitter or Facebook, and also Instagram, any of the social Dark Reaches social,
Nice. And then we freeze framed again, which is nice. This is like an art form at this point. So when I unfreeze, okay, now I'm unfreezing, right? Okay.
Oh. Yep. You good? Nice. It's a nice pose.
I'm trying to get into weird poses so that you see it's like, what the fuck is that guy doing?
Like,
yeah.
so might as well have fun with this shitty internet.
Oh, fun. Gross, I think I got one. That's not good.
Oh no.
Jeez. Blow your nose, son.
Exactly. But yeah, any of the social media, if you do any of Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, any of the Dark Reaches, if you contact us through there, we can also send you the first volume. And that's also where I'm going to start. I've been kind of doing here and there some teasers of the cover and a couple of stories here and there as I'm getting pages. But we're going to start as it gets closer to the Kickstarter. We'll start doing.
And I almost forgot. There's some of the artwork here.
Yeah, that's from my story.
Yeah, that's from yours. Yeah. So then let's see.
Yep. That's my creepy bird one.
Yeah. So this is all my fun creepy. Obviously, guys, I do a lot of work on wood, which is different for comic books. But yeah, there's some of the pages. It looks better printed. So. But yeah. Oh, did we just freeze frame on that? So okay. So
there you go. There it is.
I won't show too much more because that might give a few things away. But
yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, it's been fun working with you guys, and hopefully we can continue doing that. And,
definitely.
Yeah, would love to see the Dark Reaches come out more. I think it definitely deserves a nice spotlight, showcasing, and especially for you guys giving such a wonderful platform for new talent or talent that's flexing their muscles in new ways. I think that's always welcome and needed. And then with the comic book industry right now, it's nothing's being really printed on paper, but there are those independent guys that are doing the self-distribution.
Yeah.
So that's.
This thing too has a nice mix of new. There's a lot of new guys. Like this volume, which I like, is there's a lot of new talent as well. There's people who this is their first go at trying, to write something or to draw something. But then there's also people who kind of have some pretty, some good street cred. Besides Rus. One of the artists is Liana Kangas. Liana, she's been getting a lot of steam with her stuff with Walt. She said Destroy is the book that she's got a lot of I don't know if have you heard of this one? It's from
Which one?
Vault Comics. It's a She Said Destroy. They do a lot of sci-fi and fantasy books.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, so Liana is a friend of mine, but she definitely she's been picking up some steam. But
Oh,
she
good.
drew one of my stories
Oh,
as in the
cool.
book. And we got Taylor Esposito, who letters everything.
Yeah.
She's the other one who letters everything.
Nice.
Anytime anytime you if you have to guess who lettered the book, it's either Taylor or Rus.
Okay.
Those are your and then we have a pretty good lineup of people, which is nice. So
Nice. That's
yeah.
cool. That's wonderful. So yeah, when you're ready to make an announcement on the launch for Kickstarter, let us know, and then yeah, I'd love to chat with you and Russ some more on how to go about promoting that too.
Yeah, definitely. We'll plan it again as soon as we have. Hopefully, this starts to calm down, and we'll have an actual launch date, and we can start really pushing it.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be as soon as possible, but we'll shoot for summer, I suppose.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Yeah. Well, Deanna, and when I hit, when we stop this, go ahead, stay on. But it's been great being able to chat with you and learn a little bit more about what you do, and yeah, the personal story. I'm definitely very interested in checking that out, and I can't wait for Volume 2 of Dark Reaches. So thanks so much, Deanna, and
Thanks for
this is
having me.
yeah, thank you. This is Daniel Crosier with
Yep.
COFOH Live and Undead, and for those that are uninitiated, which is probably a lot of people, that's the Colorado Festival of Horror. Visit us at cofohhorror.com. We have some of these episodes up there, and then visit us at our Facebook at facebook.com/COFOH Horror. So anyway, have a pleasant night, and we'll talk soon.